One last time, could we get to see Rafael Varane play with Lisandro Martinez for the first time in a long time? That has been our strongest central defensive partnership. Well, could it be an opportunity for us to look at it and see how ready they will be for the ultimate one against Manchester City in the FA Cup final? My name is Webb. Welcome to the team news and, of course, all Manchester United news today. And it's been so much, by the way. You better like, share, and subscribe because I'm going to wrap it up for you in just a sort of very fast time. I've got less than 10 minutes to wrap it up for you. But I'll start it off with the news that's coming through. So Erik Ten Hag comes out and confirms that, well, they didn't train today, but he said he spoke this yesterday, confirming that Lisandro Martinez has been training well and he might be ready to start. He thinks he might be ready to start in that game against Brighton. Very important game. Brighton is our bogey side. They have beaten us in the last two meetings. The last one was 3-1 at Old Trafford. So obviously that must stick, and we must know that we've got to bring our best team. All players who are fit must be found there. We cannot afford to lose another game, regardless of us having at the back of our minds that the most important game is the Man City game. But the Brighton game is the ultimate test for players who especially have not been playing for long. So Lisandro Martinez is most likely going to be starting against Brighton. Ten Hag says on Saturday when they return to training, they should be able to assess and see how fit he has become. Rafael Varane too will be playing his penultimate game, most likely, because he returned trained. And if you watch the video of the team training, it looks like he was happy and okay. So it's a good thing because we all know that if he's fit, him and Lisandro Martinez are the best central defense partnership we can have, especially against a team like Manchester City. The experience they have got, and they are best centre backs. So obviously, if they are fit, they should be the ones playing this. And Victor Lindelof as well is back training and also has been looking good. So Erik Ten Hag might have options this time in the central defense, which releases then Casemiro. And again, that's where the debates will come. Then in the event that the central defense is sorted and Casemiro does not have to suffer playing in the central defense again, what then happens in the middle? Is Erik Ten Hag going to partner Amrabat with Casemiro, have Kobe in there, there is Bruno, then what happens up top? There is Amad Diallo, Højlund, and Erik Ten Hag is fascinated with Garnacho. He must be the first name on his team sheet. So what then will happen? I'm interested in seeing what exactly is going to, but he says himself, which is again the right thing, that he loves the selection headache that players like Amrabat and Ahmad are now adding to him now because he has got options and he wants more. He has asked and prayed for depth. I think for two more games he might have the depth, and it is also believed that even Harry Maguire is working hard to be back for the FA Cup final. So I think in the next 10 days, Erik Ten Hag will have his proper strong team, and perhaps the last game against Man City would give us an idea, a proper idea of what Ten Hag can do against the big teams when all his players are fit. Well, he said in his own closing remarks at Old Trafford that the season is not done. These players are going to do everything to bring the trophy home. And he's somehow convinced that all players have always wanted to play and give him the hard yards and try to fight for him. So he doesn't seem to agree with Wayne Rooney and what he said that certain players don't want to play for Man United. They're hiding behind injuries and all. Of course, Ten Hag would certainly want to come out and defend his players, but what exactly is the truth? So that's where we are. So Brighton, a very difficult team. First of all, they stick to their style. They are so confident in their style. They are not phased by any occasion. And now that they're even playing home, last game at home for them as well, last game of the season, you expect them probably to even step it up a notch. You don't see Roberto Di Zerbi, who has been linked to replace Erik Ten Hag. They are one of the guys believed to be on the shortlist for Ineos. You don't expect him to just come and make it easy for Man United. He'll certainly try to fight and show Ineos that indeed the rumors, the speculations linking him to them do make sense because he's good. So that's why you expect an exciting game. But for me, then, like I said, what I posed the question, and you can drop in the comment section and tell me what you think, because we all know and we've all seen what how Garnacho has been struggling to do better. We've seen how Ahmad has emerged and looked impeccably decisive for the team. We've all seen how Amrabat has stand up his game, played well against Arsenal, improved, even played better against Newcastle. Now, if the natural centre backs are back in Varane, in Lindelof and and Lisandro Martinez, what then should be done with the middle? Because what then should be done with the other places? Do you see Casemiro? Honestly, for me, I feel like what Erik Ten Hag needs to do, especially this now is against Man City, is to pack that midfield. I hope I can look at a Man United that has both Amrabat, Casemiro, and Kobe starting, the three of them, then have Bruno ahead of them. Then he must make a sacrifice up top. And the easiest player to sacrifice now is Alejandro Garnacho because he has not been decisive. He's the easiest player to sacrifice. Of course, it's difficult for him to do so because before he didn't have options, that's one. But right now, he's got the options because Amad Diallo can ably. I think Amad Diallo is now fast becoming the new kid on the block now. His confidence is up there. He's different. So there is no way now Garnacho can be on the team sheet before Amad Diallo is. So if there is a sacrifice that has got to be made, and I'm talking now about the game against Man City, is if there is a sacrifice that has got to be made, it has got to be Garnacho. The easy one should be Garnacho. And Ahmad must be starting, and we cannot afford to start a game without a striker. So definitely Hoyland should be up top because the approach that can beat Man City, and we'll talk about the FA Cup game later, but I have a reason why I'm starting with it now before I come back to the Brighton game. Because whatever we do at the Brighton game, my feeling is should be a preparation for the FA Cup final. It's an opportunity for us. It's like we should take it like a serious test before the ultimate. It's a trial game because it doesn't matter really. And we can say whatever you want to feel good that we are Man United, we should be winning every game, we should take it a game at a time. But the reality is, with all the injuries we've had, it's the only one game between to the ultimate prize. We should use it as a testing game for the so many injured players we've had because we expect some important players to return. So whichever approach we want to take to Man City, we should try it out against Brighton. The good thing is there is not so much difference. Yes, there is the approach is a bit different, but Brighton as well pass the ball. They dominate possession, they pass the ball, they play well in pockets. They are not so far off Manchester City. So it is probably even logical for us to take the same approach. It's probably a bit logical to take close to the same approach against Brighton, like we shall against Man City. The easiest way to beat a team like Brighton that will dominate you in possession, Brighton, Manchester City, Arsenal, is to get them on the counter. Be compact, be calm, don't try to beat them at possession, but be able to get them on the counter, be effective on the counter. We tried to do it against Manchester City. That's how Marcus Rashford scored the goal he scored. Now, of course, now Rashford comes into the equation. If he's fit, then what happens with Rashford? Because there could be confusion with him because he scored a stunner against Man City before. Can you leave him out of the FA Cup final? All that for me doesn't make sense because in Amad Diallo, we've got a player who has given us a complete option that if we sacrifice one winger and kill one of the wings, we've got and pack the midfield so that we are not easily penetrated by this Man City, by this Brighton team that will still penetrate us the way Man City would. We have got Amad Diallo who can ably suffice and partner him with anyone. If Erik Ten Hag does not want to play Hoyland, which I think would be silly, I let him do what he wants, but he has got to play Amad Diallo and someone else up top, and then let us try to get them on the counter. Let Bruno try and stay to initiate the transitions because he can play long passes. Let Onana stop playing those short passes in these two games. Let him play more direct passes. So those are the things I hope to see in this game. And for me, if I see a bit of that change in the game, then I'll then begin to appreciate and say, okay, maybe the injuries affected Erik Ten Hag and his creativity. Maybe he had no options. Maybe this. But if again Erik Ten Hag sticks to the same thing, because the obvious thing for Erik Ten Hag to do is when he gets his natural players back in the right positions, then he will easily frustrate the players who have been progressing. So you'll find that he will frustrate Sofian Amrabat. But and perhaps play Casemiro as the number 6, then put Kobe and Bruno. But how silly would that be? Because Casemiro, besides being struggling a bit in the central defense, there is no way Casemiro should be sitting on the bench because Casemiro is an important player for United. The way he reads the game, he sees ahead of everyone. He's always a step ahead. Excuse me. So he's certainly needed for Kobe Maino, for Amrabat to do what they have to do, to win balls back. So what then is Erik Ten Hag supposed to do? Play two number eights, Kobe and Casemiro. Amrabat sitting behind between them. Top is Bruno, Ahmad, and Hoyland. For me, that is what I hope to see on Sunday against Brighton, because that's the same thing. And that is if Casemiro is not going to be in the central defense, because if Lisandro Martinez and Lindelof or Varane are back, then we don't expect to see Casemiro playing in the central defense where he has struggled. But that doesn't mean because Amrabat is playing well, Casemiro should be dropped to the bench. No, take Casemiro back in the middle, play him with Amrabat, because they can still play together. They can still play together, but switch up something. Make a sort of diamond in the middle. That will be difficult for these ball passing, possessing teams to penetrate. But this is me now, of course, thinking out loud like we all do as fans. But it's Erik Ten Hag, and he has got his way. The only problem is he's always so stuck in his ways, and that's a problem. I think the illiterate of today are those who are not open to change, those who don't want to adjust and change based on the situations. That is, for me, a modern day illiterate. So wrong to do. You will get beat for that, and if we get beat badly by Brighton and Man City, it will be so easy for Ineos to pull the plug, and at least they will be even almost to some they will be justified to go to Thomas Tuchel, who is trying to push to get the Man United job. So that's a bit of that my take on that game. Of course, there has been news today concerning Ivan Toney being linked to United. Whereas I admire him as a player, I don't see him as a player Ineos can buy because, of course, the history. If we are trying to be saints really as a club, are we going to buy a player who was guilty for much whatever issues he was guilty of with gaming rules and stuff? I doubt they would do that. There could be better options out there. But anyhow, that's me. That's of course what I can wrap up for you today. Let's see what will come out of Erik Ten Hag's press conference tomorrow on the eve of the final game of the Premier League, but the final test before the real exam on the 25th of May. Subscribe.